Yesterday I played online. I streamed for 2 hours. I started off down like $1,200. The hands I got it all in with, way ahead. Played heads up for quite a bit, which is pretty good. I think I'm going to do a heads up-a-thon. Played heads up for, I don't know, 150 hands or so. Decent amount. I lost like $1,000 yesterday. Sucks, it's my first loss in like a week and a half. 2 weeks. First loss in 2 weeks. So yeah, my wife is going to be gone for a week. So basically, I'm going to be home grinding a lot. So last night, I ended up playing online. I tried doing a $50 to $1,000 challenge where you buy in for $50, which is the minimum buy-in, and you try running it up to $1,000. And it doesn't matter if it takes you 10 buy-ins. There's this saying called opportunity missed. Let's just say on one of my buy-ins, had I bought in for 500, we would have gotten it all in on the flop. But instead we got it all in for $50 and I ended up winning. But I still lost $1,000 trying to do this stupid challenge. I know losing $1,000 sucked. $50 at a time. Pew, 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 pew. It's hard to take $50 on a 51 table and run it up to 1,000 when the max buy-in's 500. So a lot of people are buying in for 200, 300, 500. You don't have enough ability to maneuver later street. You basically have a decision to make pre-flop if the raise is like 17 to 20 bucks, just to run with it. And then you end up getting 3 or 4 callers anyways. So it was a little different strategy. I just tried it out. I didn't like it. Buying in for the minimum and then like trying to run it up. Just absolutely gorgeous. Wife's out of town. I should be grinding. If I do grind, if I do play any poker, it's going to be out here on my deck, just smoking a doob and getting the itch to play live. Haven't played live in a couple of weeks. It's hard to just play online. I am not used to just playing online. It's funny, the online play is crazier than the live play. It is. It really is. The heads up play, I played heads up yesterday. I lost like 300 to heads up. Guy I've probably played 1,500, 2,000 hands with, somewhere around there. And he played well. I was off. I got it all in 3 times. Once I was like 25%, once I was like 40%, another time I was like 38%. I was like, okay, if I'm getting it all in, and those are the percentages, that means I'm playing bad. So I lost 300 there, lost 700 in the cash game. I just played bad. I even recognized I was playing bad when I was down about 500 total. So about 300 on the heads up play and 200 in the cash game. And I still kept playing bad. I think what I need to do next time is if I recognize I'm playing bad, just stop playing. That's what I did last week. Every time I recognized I'm playing bad, I just stopped. I was like, oh, there's my stop loss. Me recognizing that I'm playing my C game. Not even my B game, because I'll admit it, my B game, should be able to come close to breaking even. And if I'm playing my B game, I should be able to adjust it into my A game. But let me tell you, when I bring my C game, the floodgates are open. You can just take all my money and I'll do it with a smile and say, thank you very much, because that's what I did yesterday. But no one saw my smile because it's online play. We have a special guest coming in a couple of days. Pretty excited about that. I'm pretty pumped, This guy who's on American Idol, the Platinum Ticket winner, Cam Amon, is coming up here. And, our community, our town, is really fortunate to have that. For somebody like me to help put this together is good. Quick trivia question for you. When Phil Hellmuth was playing poker and learning how to play poker and grinding prior to his WSOP win, where would he commonly play 10-20 at? Now, you all know Phil Hellmuth is from Madison, Wisconsin. So back in the day, there's no poker to be played in Madison. Like, the closest place was up here in the Upper Peninsula. He used to come up here to the Island Resort and the casino. Cool trivia knowledge. It's funny. I was looking at my average hourly, on different games. 50 cents a dollar online. My average hourly is $48 an hour. But yeah, I ended up making, played decent. Made like $2,000 yesterday. So first day lose 1,000, second day win 2,000, up for 1,000 for the week. I try not to track it week by week because of variance. Bankroll management's important. Some of the best poker players in my life that I've ever met don't play poker anymore because of either addictions or shitty decisions, bad bankroll management decisions. The past couple of days has made me think about one of the big things that I get asked a lot, being a pro, being a vlogger. The most common question I get asked as a pro is, what's the biggest pot you ever won? That's the most common question we get asked. Which is funny because the biggest pot you've lost is the one you remember with absolute detail to the nth degree. A big question I get asked is, what's the difference between a recreational poker player and a professional poker player? Like when I tell people, oh, I'm a pro poker player, I think Phil Guffin said the best thing. When you tell people you're a pro poker player, they either think you're living in your parents' basement hiding from the mafia, or you're living in a mansion with white Siberian tigers. But the biggest difference between a rec player and a pro player is a pro player makes adjustments. And I was thinking about that this week because that's really important. And it's about making adjustments not just during the game, but also in situations. Case in point, the situation I'm in right now. I have very little opportunity to go play live. I have to make adjustments. I'd love to go for a week play live somewhere. And I got to get my live fix in. I can already feel it. And I've got Cam coming in on Saturday. So if I have any live play, it needs to happen like, I don't think I'm going to get any live play in. A month and a half ago, I went to go play live. I went to go play 1-2 no limit. Somebody said, hey, I was really nervous when I was betting. It was my second time playing live. And I know what that means. That means when they're putting out the chips, their hands were shaking like crazy, which everybody's been there, myself included. And the best part about this is he said, what can I do to combat that? I said, I stopped playing live for about 2.5, 3 weeks. When I did that, the first time I played live in like 2.5, 3 weeks, I was stone cold shaking and nervous for like the first 2 hours. I was literally in Hold'em, 1-2 no limit Hold'em with the $500 max buy or a $300 max buy-in, was shaking as I was putting the chips out. Yours truly, because I hadn't played in like 3 weeks. Even if you're new and you're playing poker for the first time, or if you just are a little rusty, even some seasoned pros like myself get the jitters from time to time. It was shocking. For 2 hours. It wasn't just a little bit. It was like for 2 hours. So when I went from the Hold'em table to the PLO table, like the first 4 pots I was involved in, I was like, holy shit, I'm shaking like a noob. And everybody's going to tell that I have a monster right here. I mean, I just could not believe it. There's a big pot I was involved in where I got it all in and I had the nuts, but I raised it to like, I don't know, $800, $900 or something. And when I was putting the 900 out, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, if this guy has any sense of anything of reading human beings, he has to know that I have a monster. And maybe it was just so obvious to me because I do it for a living, but I was like, yeah, he's either going to think I'm super noob because it was not somebody I'd played with normally. And even the players that I played with normally who were sitting to my left, they picked up on it and they looked at it and they looked at me. They didn't say anything. They didn't say a single word, but they picked up on it. And I picked up that they were picking up on it. So I got up, I went to the restroom, washed my hands, looked at myself in the mirror, and I said, Josh, you do this for a living. What are you doing? And you've done it for far bigger pots. All you've got in front of you is a $300 buy-in. Come on, bro, get it together. So mid-session, I go make an adjustment, wash my face, come back. After that, I was super calm, super chill. But making adjustments is a key part in being a professional poker player. Kind of like when I first started my vlog and I had the, here's the 20 steps of being profitable in low stakes problem in Omaha. Obviously there's GTO charts and everything that say, oh, you need to have jacks or better, plus have them connected. So if you have like queen, 3, 4 with one suit, you should just get rid of it. That's a really tight way of playing. Do you really want to go from 2-card poker to 4-card poker and fold just as many fucking hands? No, you do not. Especially in Omaha. If you only watch the first 5 minutes of one of my episodes, of one of my teaching episodes, you really missed the boat. Because watching just 5 minutes of that is like watching 5 minutes of Cloud Atlas. You're going to have no idea what the hell's going on. You need to watch the entire thing to encompass the entire thing so that way you understand. Because one of the biggest themes that I have in my vlog, live cash games, or my teachings is everything is situational. Everything's situational. You could be playing somebody out of table and you can get it all in with them with a really questionable hand and be good, and people might be like, what the fuck? And I have a perfect example of this. The biggest theme in my vlogs, I think, is everything's situational and you have to make proper adjustments. And I give you a wide variety of topics to learn from so that way you can gather all of them and encompass them and then understand how things might apply in different situations. So if you only watched a couple of my videos and you're like, fuck this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, I know everything better than he does, and then you stopped watching, and now you're back to watching my grinder videos because they're a little bit different, a little bit interesting because of their different aspect of poker life. Or just say you're one of my haters and you're just like, I like to see this guy punt money because he should be called the PLO punter instead of the PLO professor. Congratulations, you missed the boat. You're not picking up what I'm putting down. Whatever I'm pitching at you, you are striking out. You are not hitting the ball. That is for sure. And I have the perfect example of how everything is situational. Yesterday, I'm playing PLO, obviously. Got $500, $600 in front of me. And again, I don't normally go into hand history, but this is where everything is situational perfectly applies. I have ace 5, 7, 10, 3 cards in the same suit. Play God Light, of course. It's 50 cent a dollar. So yeah, we have 600 big blinds deep. And I'm kind of curious what everybody's thoughts on this hand was. Under the Gun decides to raise pot. Under the Gun is a professional poker player or a very high-end rec. I'm about 90% certain he's a professional poker player or, like I said, high-end rec. Under the Gun is somebody that I actually have some of the most respect for in the game. He happens to be one of the other players that I think understands the game more than me or as much as me. So Under the Gun makes it 3.5x pot. I'm in middle position. I have ace 5, 7, 10 with a suited ace. I 3-bet. Now, in our game, this is a pretty standard 3-bet. If you're not 3-betting with a suited ace and 2 cards to Broadway, you're not 3-betting enough in our game. When I say our game, the game that I participate in. And I know a lot of you already who are haters are like, what are you doing? That's not a hand to 3-bet. Sit down, Sparky. You haven't heard the rest of the story. Plus, if you haven't been part of the action, then you don't know, okay? So that's a standard 3-bet to 10. It goes call, call, call. And then it gets back to Under the Gun, who decides to 4-bet. So we have a raise, a 3-bet, and a 4-bet. He 4-bet pots it to 60. I don't even hesitate. I snap call. And we had a few new players in this game that haven't seen the action. So the first new player behind me folds. And I'm going to call that your standard internet fold. So the 2 new players that are new to this game, who both have position on me and on the other player, fold. I call this the standard internet fold. If you're on like Poker Stars or WSOP, and there's a raise, a 3-bet, then a 4-bet, you usually get out of the way because you're like, oh, the guy obviously has aces. Of course, on those sites, you're used to playing 6-handed, and you're also used to playing only 100 big blinds deep, not 500, 600 big blinds deep, and 9-handed. So when you start having those principles, you start understanding how the game is drastically different. So in any case, new player folds, is on the button, surprisingly folds. Best position right there. And just talking about that right there, you're calling 50 to win like 144 or something like that, or 140, there's not too many folds you have there. So it's heads up. We go to the flop. The flop comes out ace, deuce, 4 with 2 spades, the ace and the deuce of spades. The 4-better opens up for like 2/3 pot, and I have 400 behind. And I decide to rip it. Now, before I rip it, I said to myself, what are this person's 4-betting ranges? I said he could have pocket aces, he could have pocket kings with the spade draw, because the ace is out there, ace, deuce of spades with the 4. I said, or his other hand that he could have is he could have like 7, 8, 9, 10 double suited with spades. And I said, and the funny thing is I'm beating 2 of those 3 hands and I'm blocking the 3rd out of the 3rd hand. I said, so now he could have some ace, king, queens. I understand that. So I'm getting crushed to 1 hand. 1 hand is actually crushing me. Ace, king, X with king, high spades is crushing me. So I make a judgment call and say, I just need to jam it. I just need to rip it. So I rip it. Again, this is the club that we belong to. And the guy calls, and he turns over 4, 8, 9, 10. So he actually had a pair with a 2-pair draw with a spade draw. And it runs out clean for me. It turns a king, rivers a queen, something you would not think would be a clean run out, but it runs out clean, and I win with just a pair of aces. And that is a perfect example of making adjustments. As a professional, you have to make adjustments to the game, and you have to make adjustments mid-game, which means if I'm playing too loose, I need to make an adjustment to play tight. I guess you can make that argument. That's probably a part of any job, even if you have the same 9 to 5, like you're a secretary for somebody, or 9 to 5, you're an auto mechanic. You still make adjustments while you're in midday, no matter what you do. So I don't know. It's just like any other job being a grinder. It's just we do things a little bit more casually, and there are some people who are very, very particular. I feel like Daniel Negreanu is very, very, particular, and he has a very stringent schedule. Like I saw his schedule for practicing for the WSOP, making sure he gets 15,000 walks in a day or 10,000 walks a day, working out 6 times a week, staying on a vegan diet, drinking all water, no alcohol, stuff like that. Very stringent. So everybody takes a different approach, but it's important that if you try that approach and for some reason it doesn't work, that you make an adjustment and you try a different approach. And I think if you ask Daniel Negreanu, we saw him last year, throw his phone stand. We saw him get very emotional, and at one point he was down over $1 million. But he made an adjustment eventually. Or he got dumb lucky, I don't know. But I think if you talk to him, he would tell you there was something he did in between all of his losses in the tournaments, and then ended up making money for the year. And if you asked him what it was, I can assure you he will know. He'll say either I started meditating more, maybe he had to do something relaxing. If you want to be a pro in this business, you have to be able to make adjustments constantly. Adjustments in your game, adjustments in what types of games you play, adjustments in the games that are going to build your bankroll, and adjustments mid-game, and adjustments to other players in the type of game that you're at. You have to be able to just constantly ebb and flow the whole way. I think that's some pretty solid advice. Play smart, have a great day, enjoy the weather, and run like a god.